know who I would bet on after seeing just what they were drafting out, but let's see if maybe we change our minds when we go into the game, because Bloxa, look at that, you're back and the teams are here to try to deliver you some jiggy action in the very beginning of the game, but alas, they're on the different sides of the map.
Oh, full 5 stacks, and this is the first time we've seen some real action before level 1. Usually these teams have decided, actually, nah, we'd rather not risk losing out right at the beginning of the game, but instead, no, we're just gonna have a little bit of a ships passing in the night type of beat. It would have been very spicy if somebody had wandered down into that bottom lane. It would have been a ridiculous amount of damage laying down, and probably a first blood going over to Quest, but instead everything starts calm, everything starts collected, and it looks like junglers are once again deciding to start towards the top side.
Well,
and that means they're going to get the encounter sooner rather than later on the Scuttle Crab, isn't it? And I think one of the things, Solari, that they showed in these 5 stacks that they had going on is how G2 was in a 5 stack in that jungle, very much within that area of the map, whereas QLASH was so advanced right there on the last bush in the bottom lane, isn't it?
Oh yes, they really wanted to catch somebody off guard, while G2 were probably expecting QLASH to enter their jungle, which is something they sometimes tend to be doing at the very beginning of the game, but didn't exactly work out this time for either the teams, to be honest. What is important right now is that the bot lane, the very important bot lane, we see so many games being played around it, and this might just be the case in this time as well. Because come on, they have such a nice leash for the junglers to go to the bot lane, especially if we're talking about QLASH. That having Morgana on your side makes your ganks just such an easy time to execute.
Yeah, as soon as you can land one of those dark bindings, it should be a very easy gank indeed. And especially because Shiner is playing on that Vi, you need to be finding ganks early on in the game. If not, you're not playing Vi correctly. Whereas Karina has a much chiller time during this early game. The portion of the first 5-10 minutes for Bel'Veth, you're not particularly strong. You're kind of trying to find what you can around the map, looking to scale up before you can start beginning to look for corals around those Drakes and Rift Heralds. If you can find a gank, it's absolutely fine, but for the minute, expecting the Bel'Veth to not get too involved, whereas Shiner on this Vi needs to find gank opportunities, and the bot lane is a perfect place to do that.
But on the other hand, we're talking about Bel'Veth, and we're really looking into the possibilities for the late game hyper-scaled Bel'Veth. What is going to be happening with the Vi? Because yeah, she's pretty much early game oriented and we want to see her around the lanes, but later in the game, what is she going to be doing?
I think, Solari, that one thing that you didn't take much consideration into, Bloxa, there is how the previous game we had, the game 3 of the lower finals, the Karina on Bel'Veth was just going for a level 3 behind the tower gate. So I wouldn't be very surprised if anything similar happened.
That is very true. I mean, I watched that game, I saw what happening, and I was confused because that is not the way that you're supposed to play this Bel'Veth. Bel'Veth isn't supposed to be particularly strong during the early portions of the game, but now Karina is perfectly happy to go completely against that trend.
Yeah, Karina doesn't really care about the rules, she just creates her own, and apparently they work rather nicely.
Yes, they do. And Lilian really putting some damage onto Tifa. She has lovely range and spamming abilities there. She has the Doran's ring, so she's going to be fine with the mana, at least for the foreseeable future. On the bottom lane here, Colombo and Kaltas are really putting some pressure, even though we know how much Caitlyn and Morgana can be so powerful. But I think that the fact that they saw Karina in the bottom lane, I think they had vision close there. They were able to catch, get them getting the Scuttle Crab, but in the top path though, Lysia is already going for spiciness on Sana, who's falling very low, and how they have to flash away. But Karina has followed up. Another flash guarantees the first blood for Sejuani's G2 help.
Oh, nice little gank up in the top lane. Sana thinking that she was a-okay because Shiner was around. It ends up being, once again, like you said, I should have taken more notice of Karina on this Bel'Veth. Yeah. Sure, Bel'Veth isn't particularly strong during the early portion of the game, but Karina on Bel'Veth, absolutely fine. Even through that Spirit's Refuge coming out from the Shen, it didn't even matter. And usually you'd expect that ability, stopping auto attacks.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, not
so
quite.
close. Oh my god. And Solari, it's very interesting to see that this bot lane on the red side is doing even more pressure than Clash's. But let's have a look at the replay here. Engage is already happening with Lizia. They didn't know that Shina was around, but Karina was following up, and the health bar was falling so quickly. The engage forward there did miss it, but Lizia made sure that the flash was not going to miss.
Oh yes, well, it's really hard to miss flash in a situation like that. Sacrificing it is a big deal, to be honest, but considering that your opponent on the top lane doesn't have either of the summoner spells available anymore for quite some time, means that you can go for something like that. And look at what G2 are doing right now. Karina is at the Dragon Pit right now, and they're claiming the dragon. I believe Flash are going to be able to see it. No, they're not. They have to understand that something is happening around this part of the map, but they are not there to stop that. And the first Drake of the game, the Ocean Drake, is going to be in hands of G2.
Right now,
and that's going to be so grateful. Go on.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, the beginning stages of this game have been pretty proactive out of G2, which isn't necessarily something we've seen from them before in their previous series versus Clash. They ended up falling quite far behind in the early games of a couple of those series, and it meant that things were just beginning to feel a little bit iffy for them coming into the mid game, whereas in this series, beginning to find leads for themselves right at the very start.
Yes, and one thing that we mentioned here all throughout the tournament is how vision is so necessary, isn't it, Solari? The fact that we have G2 on that Drake pit with all the vision and none for Clash, but this time around they don't have vision of Sheena coming in. It's a lot of damage already on the Caitlyn, but the Vi is coming up, the trap is going to land, but the flash is enough to dodge the Piltover pacifier. No kills coming to fruition. Karina is around, but she's just there to make sure that nothing goes wrong. She's not going to engage. Maybe if she just goes for Sheena, she's on there. Might be going over the wall. They don't have vision of this bush.
There we go.
Oh, yes, they do it. Karina going in, but they may be caught in a bad position. But no, she has enough damage. Cortis is strong enough to take out Caitlyn with the first shot, and the crit is going to make sure that now G2 Hell is on a 2-0 lead.
Okay, if there is anything that G2 are absolutely great at, especially without Karina around, is turning a bad situation into a really good one. Their health bars are extremely low here, but you are also talking about Cosmos, who's running extremely low, and you're talking about Karina, who has no fear in her eyes as she's jumping in, and already has quite a nice damage output, making sure that Sheena is very busy trying to survive, fighting for her own life, and giving enough time for Caldes to score that beautiful kill.
Oh, so nearly going down on the Jhin as well, but it doesn't even matter. And we've seen once again throughout this tournament that having the counter gank is almost more powerful than the initial gank. Being able to arrive a couple of seconds later once the health bars are already low and clean up has been one of the most powerful tools in the kit of these junglers. And so right there, Karina coming in after the majority of the play had already happened, picked up a kill, and G2 really have a stranglehold on this game already. 1k gold in the lead, already picked up a Drake, and now picking up this first Herald, even more impactful on that Bel'Veth, who now gets that upgraded form.
Yes, and we have a look here at the top lane and the bottom lane. They are swapping sides. We're gonna have the duos at the top. Pushing in a lot, G2 did here in the top lane, and that's also the same thing happening for the bottom lane. So we see how they're managing well their recall timers and how they have been able to secure those CSs for themselves. It looks like, at least for the ADCs, the Jhin is a little far ahead. Caitlyn's going to catch up right now, but in the mid lane, I think is the biggest difference. Lilian is a lot ahead. 16 CS. Oh, I am good at maths. Look at that.
Wow, look at that. I am a little bit jealous of you right now. I would not be able to calculate that for life. But, I mean, what else would you expect? Definitely Victor is the champion who needs to farm as much as possible because his upgrades depend on his farm. But Syndra as a champion has an upper hand when it comes to farming one-on-one on the lane. As long as no jungler is coming her way, she is going to have a pretty safe time because of her range. She's feeling extremely safe standing there against Victor. He cannot really throw anything at her with any success and stop her from farming up. Well, she absolutely can.
Got a big range advantage overall, I'd say, for Clash right here. The majority of their laners, specifically that Caitlyn and that Syndra, they have so much range over their opponents that it does allow them to farm up pretty safely. But that doesn't seem to be translating into kill power, especially because once you do have the ability to push your opponent in, that opens you up to ganks, something that Karina has been doing very well right now. Going for another one.
Yes, they are. And that would have been a very nice opportunity. Kiana was very tempted by trying to hit that Dark Binding. It didn't land. But now they all know that Karina is in the area. She might be even go for something even more spicy. They're in the fog of war. So they're stacking up. They're looking for this engage. But I don't know if these two are going to... Oh, they have the Herald, so here we have it. That's why they were gathering around for a little longer. It's going to hit, take a couple of blatings. Sheena is going to try to engage as well. They have their ultimate. They're going straight on counters who have to use their heal.
Oh, no.
They're dropping really low. The kill goes to Cosmic. And now this is going to look a little better for Clash.
Oh, that is the power of Vibe. That is why you take her. The single target eliminator is up in the business. Immediately getting rid of the AD carry. Immediately getting rid of the advantage that G2 had around this side of the map, and that means they can go for their own first dragon. Karina, are you still fighting? Yeah, she is. Again, no fear.
Oh my.
Not going to be taken out by that. Instead, it is going to be that Drake picked up, and a nice return set of plays right here for Clash.
What?
They looked a little bit down during the early couple of minutes of this game, but nope, stepping right back into the fray, picking themselves up 2 kills in the bot lane and a Drake. And considering the fact that there was a lot of pressure down here, not faring too badly. You can see with this Herald comes in, but it doesn't even matter. Not when Vi has this assault and battery. Gonna manage to take down Caitlyn with no flash, no ability to get away. And then Karina gets way too high feet trying to continue to fight in. Doesn't want to give up this Drake, but ends up giving over way more than originally expected.
To be honest, I completely missed the moment when Columbal went down. I was so focused on Karina fighting here Cosmic with no fear and then going down. The Columbal is here trying to help Karina. Karina does in fact not need any help whatsoever, but Columbal is the one who's going to have to pay for it.
Some bait for your own team.
Yes. Yeah, I think the problem here was not that Karina was a little too overconfident, maybe a little bit, but she knows how good she is in the Belfast. That's why she survived. But at the same time, I don't think they considered how good Cosmic would be at placing those traps and kiting away. That was so nicely done from Clash's ADC. And I think there were a couple of minions as well to help her up on that 1v1 battle. And as you said, unfortunately for Colombo, they try to go in as a good support does, and they just made themselves be found in a 1v3 scenario, and you can't escape those.
Oh my god, I can't tell you how many times I've died as a support in exactly the same situation, and you blame yourself so much and go like, okay, I'm never going to be helping my teammates ever again. But then, a couple of minutes later, and you're doing exactly the same.
It's always a lie when you make that promise to yourself. As a jungler, it's the same thing. I should have left that lane alone. I knew it was a bad decision. And yet here I am back again looking for the next fix and definitely going to die to the opposition laners once again.
Lillian. Oh, wow. That was some damage on the W after hitting the stun. Karina is once again in the bottom lane while we see Clash a little advanced. It's going to meet up more towards the red side of the map, but Karina doesn't seem that interested in pursuing this fight, at least not for this very second. Lilian, though, is coming up. They have vision, not only that, but also a control ward on the other bush. They don't know Karina is here, though, and that's going to be a 1v1 scenario where Karina is going to win. Oh, wow, my flesh onto the wall. Feels bad, Lillian. I'm so sorry to see that happening. But it's going to be another kill for G2 Health.
So we're going 2-3 in the end, already starting to build up a little bit of gold advance. What is it, 2,000? I can do only a little bit of math, but I believe that's 2,000 between the teams right now. Not too big, but considering we just hit 14th minute in the game, that is already starting to slowly but surely pile up, especially considering that Kaltis is already sitting on the mythic item. Same goes for Tifa, and these mythics are so important for this champion, especially for Jhin. We're talking about the lack of mobility for this champion. The moment the Gale Force appeared as a new item in the game, that was the moment all Jhin mainers had a little breathing room.
Yeah, definitely. That Gale Force just gives Jin so much more survivability that he didn't previously had, and a lot more kill threat as well, because Jin was often caught in situations where he couldn't get quite close enough to his opposition to actually finish off a kill, and now with that Gale Force going to be incredibly impactful. Most of the first Mythics have come through on both teams, slightly further behind for Clash right now. You can see a trade right here, though. It's going to be another Rift Herald going into the back pocket of G2 Karina, whereas on the bottom side of the map, Clash are going to pick themselves up that first brick gold. And so if you are able to turn this Herald play into a brick as well, then it's perfectly fine. But if not, then it is actually a little bit of a win here for Clash.
Yes, I think it's definitely optimal that Karina tries to get the first brick for that team. Of course, not the first brick gold, but the one they take probably on the mid lane. No, never mind. I mean, to be fair, maybe Sejuani can take the top one by herself because it's hanging by a thread, and I don't know if you would want to use a Herald on such little health. I don't know. I think it's going to take a little bit of reasoning where you want to place it, especially since it's 30 seconds for the next Drake to appear in the map, and where you place the Herald is going to dictate where the enemies will try to direct themselves to.
Yeah, and that's going to be the usual transition of taking the Herald right before the dragon is going to be spawning soon, and then you have it in your pocket, and the enemy team has to be so wary of that fact because they know they will need to split their attention at some point. But definitely this mid lane turret looks extremely juicy, and yes, Karina is going to do exactly that, but look at that. The fight, it might just be starting here with Karina.
Cool.
Yes, it might be, and Glacial Prison is getting Lilian. The Kiana Zonia is going to be popped, but all the blue bars are looking to be a little in a bad place, but Cosmic has arrived and damage might be on the way as well. But she's a little out of position. Sana is so low on health. Colombo is getting caught up by the two Piltover Enforcers. Damage on Countess is going to land, but they're still protected by Tifa. Kiana is around the corner. 3 members against 2 of G2, and they're going on here. Gale Force in front. The Dark Shield is going to deny the route from Countess, but they're getting a little bit down on that HP bar. G2 doesn't have much vision, but there it is. It's the Hextech Gates coming to allow Karina to arrive just in time, and Clash has to retreat.
Yeah, now it's going to be a numbers advantage on the side of G2, which means no way Clash could go in and do anything about the Hexstrike. The first Hexstrike of the game is going to be taken by G2. And look at that, that was a really interesting beginning of the fight for them because they are playing around Jhin. And whenever you have Jhin, the moment you're starting a fight or the moment you're being dragged into a fight, the first thing you need to check is how far away from everybody on the enemy team your Jhin is standing, because he will need to go into his ultimate and he will be as immobile as it gets. So you need to make sure that nobody can get to him, and this is exactly what happens here. Nobody can get to Kaltis. Kaltis survives throughout the majority of the fight, not being touched even once, and then Fujito is about trying to follow up, but are they the ones being followed up all of a sudden?
Things begin to swing so very quickly in this fight. It looks very good for G2 to begin. Like you said, Countess was far enough away to be able to make that play work right at the beginning. But then the members of Quest, they just have so much more damage, much better teamfight ability, and trying to fight directly through one of those Stand United shields out of Sana is so very difficult. It meant that the teamfight ended being a little bit longer than was possibly expected, and overall it was an advantage to Clash until Karina's able to respawn perfectly quickly and use those Hex Gates to get back towards the Drake and involve with this fight.
I really have to say something. When did that tier 2 mid lane drop? I really did not see that happen. Maybe it happened.
Herald! We had one blink of the Herald and the mid lane
exactly.
was so low that I think Herald just had to walk towards the inner one.
Yeah, I think it was. While we were getting a look at the replay, that might have happened. And this tower is also going to probably go down pretty soon. Nice dodge on the W, the most damage that they're going to deal right now. They can't defend the turret, but they might be trying to go for a fight. No, it's just the mid laner and the jungler against 4 people. So they're just going to prioritize other things. Maybe just cancel the recall. Is that good? I don't think.
Oh my god.
It's still there. What? Wait. Oh, thank you. It's the replay of the thing. I thought it was happening now. I was like, when did the other turret spawn? What?
No, nobody killed the Herald. Just let it run its way through, and that's how it went down. TP play here. Shana up under tower.
Yes, they are, and Lizzie is getting caught on this one. Is not going to be no way to escape. And Solari, the game is really looking super even if we just look at gold.
Yes, I mean, we had a much bigger gap in the goal between the teams before. Clash are managing to find their ways around the map to make sure they're making the gap as small as possible. And right now, they're not feeling too bad on the map, especially if you look at that Caitlyn running with 4-1 and 400 gold bounties already on her head, which is quite big. But we're already in the 20th minute of the game, and the stakes are getting higher and higher. The Baron has already spawned on the map, which was perfect time for G2 to take out that outer turret on the top lane, because right now, they're going to have an easy access to this part of the map. And if you look there, and if you look at the amount of wards around it, there is a lot to put, but also a lot to clear out for them.
It really is. It's a brilliant amount of vision right here for Clash. They absolutely know what's going on around this Baron pit, and that's exactly where you want your vision to be concentrated right now. The rest of the map is less important than this Baron pit currently, and if you want to make a play around this Baron, knowing exactly where your enemy is or isn't is exactly correct. I don't think either of these teams can go in for a Baron right this very second. You're more looking to set yourself up for a team fight, but if you can bait your opposition in and know that they're walking in blind, that is a perfect situation for you to find a pick and then translate that into the Baron.
I definitely agree there, Bloxer. I think that's something that has worked really well in the tournament. And all the point of focus has been the vision, but on this time around, it's just on diving. Lizia has the backup of Karina, though. They are gonna have to try to retreat because the Glacial Prison is going to connect. Sheena is gonna try to run away. Slow is there. They're still able to retreat. But in the mid lane, though, Countess and Tifa are pushing really hard on the tier 3. And they're gonna try to probably use the Hex Gates here to try to get there more easily. They just decide to rotate back. They pushed out the wave, shoved it, and that's as good as they're gonna get. So they just go for the next best thing, which is going to be bot lane.
Yes, because come on, the next dragon is spawning. We're talking about 2 dragons on the side of G2. You want to get a 3rd one and put yourself on the Hex Dragon Soul Point. So clearing out waves on the mid lane and on the bot lane, while the majority of the enemy team was busy on the top lane with just 2 members of your team, and your 2 teammates were still successful despite being in such big of a numbers disadvantage, says a lot about how comfortable G2 are still feeling, despite the game still going pretty evenly from both sides. G2 do feel more confident here.
Yeah, they seem to be much happier just stepping up. I think a lot of that is Karina's confidence single-handedly with that Belveth, knowing that she can walk on forward. And now that you can begin to set yourself up for this Drake, I mean, we highlighted it. Clash have a lot of vision around the Baron, but all of the bottom side of the map was vision for G2. They're going to be able to take this one out before there's any response. Is there going to be a fight, though?
Yes, we'll see if that's going to happen. Dark Shield on Sheena is going to prevent them from getting any sort of CC, but this one is going to get it unless they use their Zonias and they stand united. But unfortunately, it's gonna be 2 kills for the Belveth. Karina really popping off. Shen gets 1 kill on Sejuani, but it's just 2 people standing, and G2 gets the upper hand on this fight, and it really goes down, isn't it, Solari, to the fact that they waited for that Dark Shield to be down to throw the Glacial.
Oh my god!
No! Oh, Cosmic. Oh, Tifa nailing that 1v1, and they're gonna go for Barry now.
Not bad at all, but yeah, I totally agree with you. That Dark Shield on Morgana is such a big thing that's going to deny so much coming from you that you need to wait for it to be used. And if you get this opportunity, you absolutely need to capitalize on that. Jin's positioning was very risky because going into the ultimate so close to the enemy team is risky to say the least, but come on, everything works out in the end for G2 because Karina is already so fat, and this is Velvet that hit all her milestones extremely early in the game.
Oh boy, every part of this game feels so tense, but G2 currently in firm control. You can see just going straight in, and unfortunately Sheena goes way too far forwards. That's a lot of your frontline damage going down. Karina is now able to be fully unleashed. Even the Shen cannot stand in the way, despite that Spirit's Refuge being used well. Only Lilianne's beautiful Scatter the Weak stops this fight from getting even worse right here for Clash. But then, unfortunately, step too far forwards to Tifa. Tifa's someone we haven't been highlighting too much recently because it's not flashy plays with the Victor, but that ult is just wrecking people into the back line and just destroying the opposition.
Yes, and G2 has all the pressure and dominance in the side of the map. QLASH has been forced and forced more into their base. Sheena trying to get some vision on this, maybe clearing out the wards, but the damage on the tower is so much. They're going to be caught in the gravitational field. Immediately exploded. Sun is going to try to do a front line for them, backing them up into the base, but it's G2 health with the Baron buff. The Glacial Prison is going to hit. Karina's very deep into this fight, maybe a little too much. Scatter of the weak is going to land, but there's no damage to be dealt on the red team. We have the taunt on Lysia. She's gonna go down because she's getting targeted by the tower. The flash forward and the taunt doesn't connect though. Tifa is still standing. Kiana gets the Zonias left for a little longer, but they also fall alongside their ADC, and G2 is running over the blue base. This might be the first win of the grand finals for G2. The timers are still coming up though, around 20, and only Vi and Syndra are alive. I don't think they both can do much to defend against these two big lanes. We have Recall back home just to get the TP on the minion. This is going to look really bad for QLASH as they're trying to defend. Some more minions are spawning on that side of the map. I don't know if G2 wants to commit to this one. It's so close. They might be wiped out before they can do much. Stun on Morgana. The mid is going to end the game.
Oh my god! G2, they are feeling angry. You can